Thank you so much for the organizing committee, and we are also very fortunate to have Dr. Winnie joining us from Harvard. So I think the arrangement is perfect because it allows me to throughout a break to attack the jet. And also you say that the discussant for my paper is our study is also Dr. Chen. So since we have the same last name, so we should be able to treat each other nicer, right? So great arrangement. So let me start. So this is a very fresh new project. So on the optimal travel restrictions in epidemiology. So this is a joint work with colleagues Professor Zhou Yun and Professor Shi Wei from Jinan University Institute for Economic and Social Research, and also their student Yu Pei. So all the arrows are mine. So briefly introduce our motivation about this study. So we know that population flows have been shown to strongly predict the spread of COVID-19 across space. It's just very contingent for this COVID-19 in terms of human-to-human transmission. And all the countries at the beginning of the epidemic were having no other solutions. Without drugs, vaccines, therapeutics, it's hard to address this issue. So most often, the country's economies resort to certain type of travel restrictions or even lockdown. Those are called non-pharmaceutical interventions. And but we already experience all the lockdowns throughout the world. So some are very massive and may introduce very large social costs, especially if for some areas without anticipation of those restrictions before the lockdown. So that promoted us to think about whether we should think about optimal way, a better way to have the lockdown or implement the travel restrictions to reduce the cost and also mitigate the virus transmission. So with that, we thought about maybe we are not introducing a lockdown of the whole city, because when you lock down a whole city, it means that you cut all the traffic, all the travels between to and from the city with the outside world. Maybe some route-specific travel restrictions can be very helpful, especially at the beginning of the epidemic, and especially when the epidemic usually started in very isolated, sporadic locations. So that makes some route-specific interventions more effective. And also with those travel restrictions, we could think of the implication of this study to suggest some ex-post management. For example, we are not, in some economies, we are not able to lock down. But if we know the travel history of certain or specific travel routes, maybe we can track those individuals with higher risk and with the advent of the mobile technology, if we understand, we know the information about travel history of individuals, we can access that and we can implement the contact tracing, screening, and quarantine more effectively than systematically or quarantine people without a certain travel directions. So those we call it ex ante if we can restrict some travels, and also ex post if we can better manage population travels with certain characteristics, then we might be able to better mitigate the virus. So in this paper, we explore the possibility that travel restrictions can be imposed to specific routes and examine the optimal design of such policies. So besides incurring the lower socioeconomic costs, some route-specific travel restrictions can be implementable when the massive lockdown is not feasible.